once again to It's My YouTube, and I'll vlog if I want to. The place where the production values are so important, we make sure you get every single bit that you pay for. Eventually I'll get that opening right. Anyway, latest bit of progress. This is the arc reactor faceplate that I'm doing for my suit. I'm going to have to actually make some modifications because my original plan isn't going to work. I ended up doing some modifications and all to get the way I want, but the way that this particular pattern came out, it will work great for a 3D print, but for Pepakura, not so much. Yeah, I mean, like this ring here is actually supposed to go into the thing, but it doesn't actually do what it is that I was intending it to do, which was to actually come in a bit, and I was intending on having it kind of spaced a little bit, and then maybe putting some LEDs or whatever around, around the top ring, I guess you could call it, and then, some in the back or whatever else and all, behind the thing. Like I said, this suit is basically just a prototype. It is my I just showed up out the cave, flipped on the flamethrowers and said my turn, suit. So this suit is going to evolve and be improved and everything as I, as I do the thing. I mean, I'm basically learning newer and better techniques for my stuff. Everything I do the first time is usually just a see how badly I'm going to screw it up kind of thing. I mean, like, for example, the Tron Identity disc, Tron Legacy disc, there is actually I know it's the second, might be the third, and that one actually came out pretty decent so far. It is just the cardboard, and then I actually took it's actually 10mm LEDs. I actually ended up clipping the wires off, like, right at the LED, so there's no way to salvage them, but I just needed to actually get a good look at what it's going to be. So with this, I was still able to, do the outer shell like I was wanting to do, and now I also can really get a good look at what it is that I'm thinking about doing with it. I haven't decided whether I'm going to have this on the outside or if it's actually going to, be so that it's kind of just, like that. So that's all you will see from it. It really just depends on just how much work I want to do for it. And also I have to take into account, how far from the suit and all, because you gotta remember, this is gonna be inside, and if it's poking me in the chest, so, we'll see about this. Looks like it'll almost, like, it's got just a little bit, probably maybe 1/8 of an inch, maybe, I don't know, maybe an 1/8 or a 1/16. I don't know. Obviously, it's a little hard to tell from the outside looking at this. Gap between where it hits the side wall. Kind of, I guess that way you get a general, where it hits the side wall and the actual bottom of the container here. And you can see that there is a bit of a gap, but overall it could have been worse, and I have had more retarded looking builds than this. Actually, the first faceplate I did came out a hell of a lot better because the pattern actually was different. Uh, I mean, overall though, this particular arc reactor pattern works much better as a 3D print pattern than it does as a Pepakura pattern. But it definitely it gives me some ideas for how to do the next the next piece. Like, hopefully I'll have my 3D printer by then, and I can just print the faceplate correctly and go from there. But then I'm also going to have to take like a picture of the original arc reactor outer ring, and that's what I'm going to be doing around here. I may end up deciding to do some LEDs and whatever else. Like, I am going to fool around. I'm going to turn this into a displayable arc reactor. Okay. I'm gonna have to end up actually cutting this off in a minute because I'm in the process of doing the Windows 10 technical preview thing. I end up signing up on the Insiders program as well as the Microsoft Developers Network because there's a lot of things that I want to do, and this will actually help. But let's see, important legal stuff. Microsoft pre-release software license term, pre-release operating system, if you live in, or if a business, personal place, section 1 of additional terms, contains a binding arbitration clause and class action waiver, affects your rights to solve a dispute with Microsoft. You promise to give us your firstborn, swing a dead cat over your head while naked, coated in lard under a full moon. Yeah, it seems legit. Okay, and then let's see. Yeah, there's the Sentai pad. There's the human Sentai pad clause. There's the. Okay, yes. Give a firstborn. You have to guess our name. Things I'm not allowed to do with the software. Anything, all the fun stuff, basically. You're not allowed to use it to launch missiles. You're not allowed to hack into government systems. You're not allowed to. Okay, this is actually interesting. I mean, and I understand what they're saying, but just kind of things I'm not allowed to. Yes, because the software is licensed, not sold. Microsoft reserves all rights, such as rights under in particular, license does not give you any right to, and you may not use the software in a live operating environment. For those of you who do Linux, using a live OS means that basically I can with Linux I can put it onto a thumb drive or onto a CD or DVD, depending on which version of Linux. And while the computer's off, put it in either into the disk tray or pop it into the USB port, and then turn it on and load from that. Microsoft doesn't let you do that with Windows. There are ways to do it, but it's just realistically the best thing to do, if you can figure out how to force an external install. Pretty much, I know the simplest way that I know of, and I don't actually know how to do it because I haven't actually looked it up yet, but I know it's possible. You can put in a external hard drive, and then basically make the computer consider that your main drive. For the purposes of this anyway, and then do a standard install, so that way the computer, thinking that this external drive is in fact your actual C drive, then you can think. But it's hard to do it that way, but it's not impossible. The easiest way to install Windows on an external is to take a internal hard drive that can be turned into an external through the use of an adapter shell, install your Windows, and then pull it out, turn it into an external hard drive, and then set your computer to load from USB first. That way, whatever hard drive you have plugged into it, like I actually was going to have my Linux install on an external hard drive, so anytime I wanted to use my Linux, I just plug in the hard drive and then go from there. So you can fool it by going and putting it onto a external hard drive, but it's hard to do. But there are ways. So, but basically, what it is this license does not give you the right to. You cannot disclose the results of any benchmark text of the software to any third party without their consent. Okay. You cannot use or virtualize features of the software separately. Okay, means you can't pick it apart and use this in your own operating system or whatever. You know, you can't sit there and pull out one feature or another to try to reverse engineer your own system. You cannot publish, copy, rent, lease, transfer, or lend the software. Technically, well, actually no, because yeah, you have to sign in on the insiders program or everything else. So yeah. You cannot attempt to circumvent technical protection measures in the software, reverse engineer, decompile, or disassemble the software, except if the laws where you live or if a business where your principal place of business is located permit this, even when our agreement does not. In that case, you may only do what your law allows. Or in that case, you may do what your law allows. That's why I want to set up my own country. When using internet-based features, you may not use those features in a way that could interfere with anyone else's use of them, or try to gain access to any server, data, account, or network in an unauthorized manner. They won't let us have any fun. Okay, the binding arbitration and class action waiver. An eventual dispute, you're screwed. And actually, from what I understand, when I'm doing the research, the arbitration agreement. I mean, basically, good luck trying to sue Microsoft. Realistically, you take liability on yourself and all. There are circumstances in which you can sue, but it's like a long, drawn-out process or whatever else and all. But the arbitration agreement, from what I understand, anytime you end up in arbitration with Microsoft, if you actually have a legit claim, they're pretty good about actually saying, all right, fine, here, and then going from there. So, but yeah, the arbitration agreements and the licensing agreements lately, pretty much been standard boilerplate, and it does cut down on lawsuits and a bunch of other crap. Let's see. You must send notice of dispute about that. We'll try to resolve any dispute through informal negotiations within 60 days. After 60 days, you may commit. Oh, okay. First, you have to try to negotiate informally for 2 months. After that, you can commence arbitration, and then I don't know. Something I haven't been with a lawsuit. You may bring any dispute in small claims court of your county of residence, or Kings County Washington. If the dispute meets all requirements to be heard in the small claims court, you may sue in small claims whether or not you negotiated informally first. That's actually, I got a lot of respect for Microsoft that they, even in their agreements, they still are making sure that, hey, you still have the right to do what you have the right to do. If you do not resolve it by informal negotiation or any other effort, class arbitrations are not permitted. You're giving up the right to sue. Okay, the binding arbitration means if it ends up going to arbitration, pretty much, what the arbiter, what they say is the word of God, pretty much. Except for a limited right of appeal under the FAA, which is the Federal Arbitration Act. Class action waiver, any proceedings, Microsoft will seek a dispute heard as a class action, private attorneys are actually no arbitration, so I'm not quite sure how that works on a class action thing, but Okay. Arbitration conducted. If you're an individual or personal or household, or if the value is 75,000 or less, whether or not you are an individual. Okay, basically, if you're a normal user, then you go through the American arbitration thing under its rules. Or if you're a business, whatever else, and your damages, etc., are less than 75,000, you go through arbitration. Revocation fees and payments. Okay, if it's less than $75,000, Microsoft will promptly reimburse your filing fees and pay the arbiter's fees. That's usually, pretty decent. This is part of why it is that, I mean, for a while I was on the paranoid government backdoor bandwagon. Yeah, and then I have been saying Microsoft really is about personal privacy. From what I found, there are certain things which they will definitely assist investigators with, like, such as investigating specific type of cybercrime and things like that. And that I do fully support. Yeah. But yeah, for a while I was really just not, because all the rumors about Microsoft being in bed with the government and everything, and then I realized that at this point it really doesn't matter. So, because if they were, if they weren't, or if they are, they've been in so long that you really can't. The government's got all of your crap anyway, so you just basically don't do anything that you need to be worried about. But I like this where it says they will actually they will pay the cost of whatever's going on if the damages are less than 75,000, etc. And if the arbiter awards you more than Microsoft's last written offer, they will pay the greater of the reward, or $1,000. Pay your and reimbursing expenses. It's actually pretty good. If fees involving more than $75,000, the American Arbitration Association rules with government that will govern payment of that. Disputes involving any amount. Okay, in any arbitration or commerce, it doesn't matter what it's for. 1 penny, $1 million. Microsoft will seek to get their money back out your ass if it's found that the arbiter finds the action frivolous or brought an improper purpose. So as long as you actually have a legitimate beef, win or lose, Microsoft will actually pay the thing, except if you're being a dick. Claims or disputes must be filed within 1 year. Severability, choice of law, laws of where you live are the governing force here. Software may provide access to a store. You got Windows apps. Alright, basically, one of the questions people were asking, why is the upgrade going to be free and whatever else and all? The technical preview is one thing, obviously, but the actual retail OS is going to be free to people, meeting the various conditions. And the people wondering, where's the catch? What's the hook? Basically, they stand to make a lot more money in that time that it's available for free for people. They stand to make a lot more money on the App Store. Enough to make up for giving away the operating system for free for an entire year. And I did find out that the supported lifetime of the device that people were questioning, basically refers to the hardware pretty much. If you got a phone, obviously there is a supported lifetime. Once it is that like LG stops supporting the motion, it doesn't matter whether it's tomorrow, whether it is 50 years from now. While the manufacturer supports that specific device or that specific model line, then Microsoft supports the Windows 10 operating system that's on it. And if you have a desktop like I do, if you replace your motherboard, if you replace your hard drive, graphics card, you upgrade whatever else, you can reinstall your operating system from the install medium using the key that you already have and everything, because you are bringing a new component. Basically, the way that I think it works, and pretty much the way it can be argued, so that's why they're just going to support it, is that you are just merely bringing a new component into a supported architecture or environment anyway, so therefore now the lifespan of the newest device now becomes the governing factor. It's pretty much the way it looks to me, and probably is going to end up, basically if it ever had to actually have a legal precedent set, that's probably what it would end up being. So if you give feedback about the software without charge, the right to use, share, commercial. If you give feedback about the software, you give it to them. Basically, you give it for free. They can share it, do whatever they want to, either promotional. You also give the third parties without charge any patent rights needed for their products, technology. But yeah. Okay, basically, it sounds a lot more skeevy than it is. It's actually it's actually standard feedback clauses that you can't charge them for a review, and you can't try to co-opt the rights of manufacturer to its hardware proprietariness. Some features of the software today you're accessing, you may turn to yourself. Okay, basically it's saying that hey, some of this stuff might access the internet, and you are subject to the terms of your carrier for that. Or your provider, whichever term you want to use. This may have various stuff that plays video. This is licensed under a lot of text that I just don't feel like reading. May include Flash Player. You agree that your use of Flash Player is governed by the license of Adobe. Third-party programs may include third-party programs at Microsoft, not third-party programs at Microsoft, not the third-party licensed to you under this agreement. So I mean, this is all pretty much standard stuff. Because the software is licensed as is, Microsoft may not reward. I'm sorry. Some of this stuff is just. Yeah. By the way, because we're offering this to you or whatever else, because they got a curbside guarantee, we might not support it. We might not support our newest operating system. I like the implication there. It's just funny as hell. Disclaimer of warranty. This software is licensed as is, and it's your ass if it goes wrong. For Australians only, you may have statutory guarantees under the Australian consumer law, and nothing in those terms is intended to affect those rights. Limitations on exclusive yada yada. If your local law allows you to recover other damages from Microsoft, even though we do not, you cannot recover more than $5 or the amount you paid for the software, whichever is higher. So basically, if you stole it, you could still get $5 off of them. At least if you want to sit there and be a literalist. Entire agreement. This agreement terms become provided the terms contained in the web links listed in the agreement, and any license term the company may modify, and they modify or replace some of all these terms are You can revert the terms of the landing license agreement after your software is running by typing the URL in your address bar and continue so. You agree that we'll read the terms before using the software services, including any link terms. So basically, you agree to read a lot of crap. And accept. Anyway, I'm going to, because I'm not sure whether or not this is going to shut me down for now until it's finished doing the install and everything. So for now, I'm going to cap this off and actually so I can pay attention to the upgrade procedure and all. And then depending on how everything goes or whatever, I will either continue using 10 and then I will go to the full release, or I will go back to 7 because I still have my recovery disk. So anyway, thank you for continuing to watch. Have a nice day, and hey, at least I've had worse builds. So, oh yeah, and by the way, this is the lighting that was from my old arc reactor chest plate that was going to be just the plain original one. And so I'm taking them apart because instead of having a 12-volt power supply, I'm going to I have to find the specific voltages on these again, and then decide whether I'm even going to use resistors in them, because you can actually still punch 3 volts through a 1.5 volt LED and be perfectly fine. It's just you only get like half the lifespan, so you only get like 30,000 hours instead of the 60,000 rated. Not exactly the most crucial issue on the face of the earth. And heat is not really an issue in terms of they don't really get hot, but if you don't give enough where the little heat that does build up can dissipate away from the bulb, that also cuts down the life. So punching 3 volts through a 1.5 without a heat sink, I'm basically looking at like maybe 6 years worth of use out of it, as opposed to the 20 or 30 that I'm supposed to get. I buy a pack of 10 for like $2.50, so I'm not exactly too concerned with that. In any event, thank you for continuing to watch, and have a nice day.